Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit that subscribe button if you're new so you don't miss any of our great football content this season. I think what's happening at Michigan's interesting. So the way college sports has usually worked, it's worked at UConn basketball. It's worked where I grew up, Washington basketball, went Don James to Jim Lambright. Generally speaking, the great college programs, when the legend leaves, hire somebody on staff to appeal to the locker room, appeal to the coaches. It's almost always a mistake. It almost never works. That's why I thought Kalen DeBoer to Bama was great. He was the best candidate. Urban to Florida was the best candidate. Saban to Bama was the best candidate. They don't have any ties, and I think that's great. Michigan, goes the other way. They're like, guy on staff, everybody likes him. So I've thrown this out before. Michigan fans were very appreciative that I defended Connor Stallion and Harbaugh. And I said, yeah, I know it's illegal, but you can buy high school players. That used to be the death penalty. I'm not as punitive. I don't get outraged by a guy in an iPhone with fuzzy video. You can buy a left tackle a junior year in high school. So the world's changed. But I said, here's my thing with Michigan. Michigan sounds like a greater program than it is. So Ohio State is essentially the SEC just north.
Yep.
The obsession, the passion, the relentlessness. I mean, Luke Fickell gets an hour, you're out. That's the SEC. Michigan's patient. Michigan's got the medical school, the business school. And the truth is, if you take Harbaugh out, they'd ham and egged it for a lot of years where it's like, well, they're okay, they're not special. When they hired somebody on staff, my first take was, oh, that's Michigan, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. That as much as I loved Harbaugh in Michigan, is that Michigan is a program that people instinctively, helmet, fight song, Harbaugh, Brady, think of a top 5 or 6 program. But I don't think it is. I don't think Michigan is a top 10. Now I'm saying this, you take the job. Okay, you take the job. Oregon has Phil Knight. Ohio State has historically been more obsessed. Penn State's got even athletes. Oh, damn, now Washington and USC are in it. That I would not be surprised if Michigan went 10 years and was kind of an 8-win program. I would not be shocked. That's a lot.
Let me break this down. Okay, so my perception was kind of with an asterisk next to it when Jim Harbaugh left and they give Sharon the job, because I could never prove this, but it'd be tough for you to convince me there weren't some conversations in that building of, we've got this looming NCAA thing. Don't really know which way it's going to go. Let's just build a bridge right now. And who knows, maybe Sharon's the perfect guy and it's a moot point, but at the very least, let's just give ourselves an ability to have this conversation again 2 or 3 years down the road. And if he's great, it's a moot point. And if he's not, it'll give us an open door. I still think there's a little bit of that. And that there's a lot of remains to be seen on that. Here's what I wonder. All right, so the malaise that was Michigan, which was basically my upbringing. Like I came up, I'm in high school, mid-2000s, my college years. That's the era you're talking about with Michigan. I'm sort of on the back part of Lloyd Carr. And so I hear about when Michigan was great more than I'm watching them great. Texas, kind of the same way, Mac Brown towards the end, and then Texas is the same way. I wonder if you're allowed to have that for an extended period of time anymore with the way money is in the sport right now. And so also how volatile roster churn is. Because if it's going to be, here's what it's going to do. It's going to be really hard to gauge a coach. Because it used to be, like I would define program as a 4-year rolling blend of staff grades and recruiting rankings and development and NFL draft production. Well, how am I even doing that if we've thrown it all in a blender and 38% of your roster year over year is coming from someone else's program? So I don't really know how to grade a coach so much as I know how to grade a talent acquirer. I just wonder if they don't look at it and say, what used to be okay here is not okay anymore. That's why it always helps when your rivals are winning. It helped Auburn down in the South when
Yeah.
Alabama was winning. There's no way Auburn goes and wins a title in 2010 if you don't have the reverse reaction to the Saban thing. And likewise at Michigan, you've got Ohio State, which will always turn the heat up on you. But I'm more interested in what you're talking about, the new additions to the conference. What is Oregon long term? I've actually got semi-high expectations for Washington long term, probably higher than
Same,
the rest of the
same.
country. Yeah. I just I see where you're coming from. Okay, I feel the same way about the profile of the program. I feel the same way. I just don't know if you've got big enough money that walks around and does what it took for them to get Bryce Underwood. I'm not sure that they just sit there and say, well, I guess we're good enough with 8 wins. Like if that happened, I just think they'd be overly aggressive and keep hiring and keep hiring and keep hiring until they hire their way out of it, which is a horrific strategy in college sports, but it doesn't mean they wouldn't try it.
Think about this. Harbaugh won instantly in San Diego, instantly with the Niners. He won instantly with the Chargers. Turned them around. Stanford, he didn't win instantly, but he was a 40-point dog, went to the Coliseum and beat USC. So instantly he changed the culture. Michigan took a while.
Yo,
For
dude,
Jim,
that's its own
for
documentary. Yeah,
Michigan took a while for Jim Harbaugh.
yeah.
Because I always said this, if you're too worried, one of the advantages the SEC has, like culturally, they really don't care about the swim team. There are certain universities, the West Coast really cares about it. There's some ACC schools that do. Michigan has always looked at Ohio State as like, well, academically, they're our junior college. We wouldn't do what they would do. And my take is Oregon just entered the conference. Oregon has no effect on Ohio State. Either does USC or Washington. But I think Oregon, Washington, and USC can beat Michigan regularly. I don't think they can beat Ohio State regularly. And that's my take is that when the Pac-12 came to the Big Ten, there was this sense that, oh, those West Coast schools, it's big boy football. And my take is, oh, Jim Harbaugh leaves. Michigan in 5 years, we're going to look up and go, they're the school in trouble. That USC's humming, Oregon's going to hum. Washington, whenever they get the right coach, is a top 10 program. Let's be honest, James Franklin is one of the top 5 recruiters in the sport. They're going to be fine. I mean, they have dudes. I just think Michigan, and I know everybody loves Underwood, myself included, but I look at it and I think hired within, conference is much stronger. They care about stuff that a lot of football powers don't. I have a weird vibe about Michigan, and Ohio State now is playing. I mean, they are rolling right now. They feel like Georgia 4 years ago.
I remember when I used to work in a warehouse and listen to you all the time describe fan bases. And you would talk about sweater vest fan bases. And you're
Yes.
kind of describing the sweater vest ishness of Michigan. So another layer of that theory to test out here is I noticed a different vibe off of them over the past 24 to 36 months with the whole Stallions thing, with the whole NCAA
Right.
investigation. There was this sort of throwing back in Michigan's face the hypocrisy water balloon of, do you guys have looked down your nose at the rest of college football for so long and it's you that's wrapped up in this? And instead of looking and kind of defending themselves or apologizing for it, they just kind of said, like if we got to get the sweater vest dirty, if we got to get some dirt under our
Right.
fingernails, then so be it. And I don't know long term what kind of ramification that has. There are always these inflection points in the trajectory of programs or businesses or whatever. And you look back on it when you're, doing the documentary or writing a book 20 years down the road, and this moment in time affected this, and this downstream. I still don't think we know fully how much that right there, that past 20, 24, 36, 48 months was an inflection point that changes the attitude around there. And it could be nothing, by the way, but it could be something that makes them a little less apologetic about being a little more serious about football. It's not that they weren't, but your point's well taken. Some places, they will literally do whatever it takes to win.
That's right.
I grew up in the South.
There's about 8 of them.
Yeah, we never perceived Michigan that way down south. We perceived Ohio State like that.
Yes.
We always thought Penn State may be like that. We never thought that about Michigan. And Recently, there's a little more of that vibe coming off Michigan to where I still question if they would let it sink back to that 8 or 9 win degree without getting ultra aggressive in the hiring. Hiring doesn't guarantee anything. I just don't know that they would sit back and, cross the legs and, sit back in the rocking chair and say, oh, well, at least the GPA is high, like they used to.
Yeah. So, by the way, Michigan faces Nebraska this weekend, and it's probably going to be a field goal game. It's at Nebraska. I don't know. I would probably take Underwood making a play and winning the game late. If I had to bet, I would just say, I mean, two really talented quarterbacks. I would probably take Michigan. Again, Underwood, close game, 27-24, makes a play late. What say you?
I am going to this one. Never been to a Nebraska game before. Looking forward to it. I believe in a lot of that rule year three stuff, at least at the college level. If that's right, and he's there year three, and they scratched out a win against Cincy early on, and Cincy's quarterback ran for over 100 against him, by the way, which is something Underwood absolutely could do in this game. If a lot of what I believe about them, if their wide receiver core is one of the more underrated position rooms in the Big Ten, which I believe, if I believe that they've got the kind of guys that can stand up at the line of scrimmage, at least stalemate a team like Michigan, if that's right, this is kind of the way that you prove it. It's the stage you prove it on. So I don't have a strong feel on it. Actually, later in the week we've gotten, I kind of do have a stronger feel on it. I think it's going to be a Nebraska day. I think they're going to win that game, and I think the talk around them becomes a little different. Like I thought they'd
Yes.
be a fringe playoff team at the outset because I thought they'd get one or two of these key wins, could afford to drop two, and be a 10-2 non-Big Ten championship type playoff team.
Yeah, no, I mean, they have to go to USC. If they lose this game, Oklahoma was clearly the side, clearly the better team, more juniors and seniors. And I think Oklahoma finally has their quarterback. And I think it's interesting.